Hello everyone, this is Greyshot17 giving you a quick review of Gretel and Hansel. It's a reimagining of the Grimm fairy tales, well, Hansel and Gretel. Essentially, two children go and find a witch in a forest, and for those who don't know the story, the witch may have a tasting for children. Now, that being said, this is an updated version, so yes, they do change the story and dynamic of this. By the way, the director of this was Oz Perkins, screenplay by Rob Hayes, again, based on Hansel and Gretel from the Grimm Fairy Tales, and also starring Sophia Lillis, which I will point out, fantastic, from It, and I always want to see her in more movies. I know Finn Wolfhard's in a bunch of stuff, but I keep expecting her to show up in a few movies as well, and I just haven't seen her in anything. So I'm glad she's in this, because easily she's probably like tied for the best part of this movie. Also, Sam Leakley's in it, Charles Barbola, and Alice Kriege, or Kriege, I want to say is her name, but she's the witch, and she is fantastic in this. And again, if you know Hansel and Gretel, you know how this is going to play out, and that's my biggest gripe with this movie. It sets up a lot of interesting dynamics and characters in the beginning, especially the opening 5-10 minutes. That was great, but as soon as we get into the second half and then the third act of this movie, it just grinds to a halt. Not necessarily by character acting or performance, but just what's on screen. It's just not very interesting to watch because if you know the fairy tale, you know how this is going to go. Which, again, sucks because this is supposed to be a darker reimagining of it. And while it is PG-13, it does have some great cinematography, and they are able to take use of the darker themes material. The problem with this movie, big problem, is the fact that they don't push it far enough if they are going to. They don't really capitalize on more of the darker themes as they could maybe. I still think they could have gone darker with this if they really wanted to. For most of the scenery and sets, it's really well done. I will tip my hat off to the production design for that. But the thing about this is they'll show stuff and it's like, how is that a thing? Like there's a really cool entrance for a character, but how does that make sense? There are other things that are shown. It's like, okay, who are them? Who are those people? We're just not gonna. Okay, that's fine. And again, I don't mind saying this because it's just background dressing. But the problem is when the background dressing literally starts getting in the way of the film. There's an amazing shot in this movie, but the problem is, how the hell does that make sense? How does two people see that and not go, I think there's something wrong with this. Like, it's moments like that that take you away. So my suspension of disbelief, which was so firmly set in movies like Underwater and Bad Boys, even though those types of movies have a tendency to pull you out of the movie when it's done badly, this movie did that. Not because necessarily it was bad in the performances, not because the set designs were bad. The music specifically, I felt was way off. It was like an 80s like synth, like it was like really, really weird music to be setting during this time that's supposed to be, I'm assuming, pre-medieval, like it's that type of era. It's like probably somewhere between 1100 and 1400. So it's literally down to characters doing stuff from the book that you know that's going to happen, although it's drawn out to an extreme. You know everything they're going to say, everything that's going to happen for the most part. But that being said, even the dream sequences in this movie are dreams. You know there's no tension. So when the final act happened, I knew there was no tension because of how they built up Gretel in this movie with the witch. So it's like, okay, I already know what's going to happen, so I'm not really all that interested in this movie. I'll give it up to the cinematography. I'll give it up to the performances and all of the characters in it. I don't think any of them are bad. And I'll give it up to the set design and CGI, like how they go hand in hand together, although there's a few shots that make it look a little cheap. I will say that. There's a couple shots that make this movie look a bit cheap. But overall, if I had to be honest, I would say this film is a 4 out of 10. It's something that is below average in terms of its writing, its dialogue, its pacing, a lot of those, and the music. All those things lead to this movie being a lot worse than what it could have been. But the positives are the CGI, which again, this is a really cheap movie, so it does it sparingly and does it well. The set design, the cinematography, and the performances. All those things make for a really interesting film, and then it just becomes boring and tedious and doesn't lead up to a really great finale. It just becomes, okay, we're in the final act, let's get this finale over with. And it just, for reimagining goes, something that I will interject is something like Claus. Claus is something that is unique because it takes the Christmas ideas of Santa Claus and reinvents them for the film that makes it amazing. Delivered with great dialogue, great performances, really good, fantastic animation, etc. This movie, again, takes that, but does a half step with it, doesn't go all the way through with making it itself unique, has great looks, but it has no substance to it. And that's why this falters, where Claus, another reimagining movie of a tried trope of Santa Claus, did something very well. So kind of just comparing the two and why one succeeded and one failed. But in any case, guys, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. This has been Greyshot17, and tune in to my next review, which is going to be Birds of Prey. Oh god, I am very curious to see how this movie goes, because I am not looking forward to it. I didn't like the trailers, but who knows? Maybe it could be great. But in any case, we'll see in a week, and I'll catch you guys then. Hello everyone, this is Greyshot. Before I go, I want to give a special shout out to Patreon supporters Josh, Milam, Joey G240, Just Thomas Plays, Spartycus, Rilfe, JrChicklis, Pyroshark, Ollie, Ace, GTA, and Jakub Osweight. Thank you all for your incredible support. This has been Greyshot17 and his amazing patrons, and I'll see you all next time.